at the meeting, and because our guest speaker has another meeting at 1, we will do all the announcements and stuff at the end today. And so I will turn it over to Marilyn to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott McCallum of the Washington State School for the Blind. He is the superintendent. Scott has been employed there since 2016, and his career has included working as a teacher of students who are blind and visually impaired, an orientation and mobility specialist in the Oregon Law Incidence Region Program System as well. Scott has also served as a regional program vision services coordinator for Northwest Regional Education Service District, and as the administrator of the Oregon Blind and Visually Impaired Student Fund. I had the pleasure of attending the Fort Vancouver Lions a few weeks ago, and in which Scott was the program, and I found it very interesting. And Scott is very passionate about his career, and I believe he may have mentioned this was definitely one of his dream jobs. He truly enjoys serving the blind and supporting the program. So Scott, let's welcome Scott today.
Scott, I'm going to mute everybody, and then you can mute yourself, okay?
No, I will be a little bit later.
There you are, Scott.
All right, I should be unmuted.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. As was mentioned, my name is Scott McCallum. I have the wonderful honor, privilege of serving as the superintendent of the Washington State School for the Blind. She was right. This job is my dream job. I can't imagine doing anything else. I probably won't, quite honestly. I am only the 11th superintendent of this agency since it was founded in 1886. And so all of the leaders that have come to WSSB and led here have generally stayed for quite a long time. And like I said, this is my dream job. And so I hope to spend the rest of my career here at WSSB. I did want to provide an update on where we are as a school and a state agency. And I wanted to give you another update on a neat little project that we have been doing on campus, and it actually centers around a lion here from Fort Vancouver. So I'll start with the school update. As you all probably know, schools were forced to move to a remote learning type of service delivery last spring, and that was March. I want to say it was around March 12th or 13th. WSSB is both a state agency and a school, and so we were fortunate enough to have a heads up that the governor was contemplating shutting down schools for in-person services last March, and so he reached out to us, and we had a little bit of a heads up. So that meant that we could prepare a little bit before we had sent all of our students home. And for those of you that don't know about the school, it's a residential school. Like I said, it's been here since 1886. We have residential students, we have day students, we have a transition program for students 18 to 24. We do birth to 3 services, we do outreach services. So there's a lot more to the agency than what is formally known as WSSB and the programs that we have here. But we did have to pivot pretty quickly and send everybody home. And people have been living here for quite a while, which meant all their stuff was here. But all that said, we were poised like most other school districts weren't. We were already a one-to-one technology initiative school, which means that every single student had an individual device that they had been assigned. And so for all of our high school students, they had already been assigned a laptop computer that they used for their instruction. And our middle school students had iPads. And then there's various levels of reasonable accommodation in between. We already had enough, we use what are called refreshable braille displays, these electronic braille devices. We already had enough of those for every single student. Our students had been using online means to access their education, at least in part, before. So this wasn't totally new to us. And since 2003, The Washington State School for the Blind has been the nation's pioneering school for the blind in distance learning. We've been offering distance learning courses in a way that no other school for the blind in the country has. In fact, we often have students from as far away as Connecticut, Alaska, Montana, other states that attend our online classes. So this wasn't totally foreign to us. That said, though, it was a huge lift for us to just pivot like within a day to online remote learning. Due to some staffing issues, I actually ended up extending the school year by 2 weeks. But our students didn't miss a beat. We didn't shut down for that 2 weeks. We just supplemented with other staff. And so at the end of the school year, our students at WSSB, the ones who attend our campus programs, actually ended the year with more minutes of seat time, more days of instruction than they would have had otherwise, not less, which is really great. All that said, I have to be honest, it's not the same doing it remotely versus in person. And so don't get the idea that just because our students had more education that they had the same quality. It really wasn't. Pivot then, we made our way through the summer and all this, the uncertainty that existed. We ended up canceling our summer programs for the year. Weren't sure exactly how that was going to work. We had also sent home all staff, so nobody was here at the agency like I am now. We made plans for bringing back students in the fall. We worked with, as a state agency, we worked with the Washington State Department of Health directly, as well as our Clark County Department of Health. And I meet with the Clark County Department of Health every single week, as well as superintendents across the state to talk about this. So we have been planning and all these great plans to bring students back. We knew we were going to have to start remotely. We honestly thought that possibly by mid-October we'd have all our students back. Well, that didn't really shake out. We learned a lot more about the virus, a lot more about how we needed to handle it. And so we started the year, like I said, totally remotely. No students were here at all. And they were all attending online. We then, by mid-September, were able to bring our first group of residential, but local students back for day services. So we had 6 students that started coming in about mid-September. And then I'm really actually excited to announce that just a week ago was the time when we actually welcomed our first group of residential students back. And in order to do that, we had to clear a bunch of hoops. We had to make sure we had buy-in and support from the State Department of Health. We had to make sure we had buy-in and support from our Clark County Department of Health. And I had to have buy-in and support from both the governor's office, because we're a state agency that's situated in the office of the governor, and our own board of trustees. And so we jumped through all those hoops and everybody supported our plan. We welcomed back about 20 students as of last week. We have no COVID cases on campus. We've had a couple of scares where people have had close contacts and have just followed all the guidance. But so far it's been really, really successful bringing back students. We have about half of our staff that are not on campus. They're in high-risk areas, and so we are not forcing them to come back. In many cases, they're teaching remotely. We've had to make some really unique staffing decisions to make sure we have enough staff on campus, because most of our students, we're serving about 70 right now through on-campus programs. Most of them continue to be engaged remotely. And then now we have about 20 of them, so that's just about a third coming in for in-person services. We also have a transition program that's students 18 to 24. They're on campus going to school. So that's all really exciting, and we're feeling really good about it. Again, it's still not the same. We had to have very strict cohorting rules here. If you were to visit our campus, number one, we wouldn't let you in because we don't allow visitors right now because we're really restricting who comes in. But if you could, what you would see is, and what you might hear is, as soon as you walked in the door, there are signs that say, you have to be socially distanced. You have to wear a mask. We have these wonderful branded masks to show our lion pride. We're lions too here at WSSB. So we have our lion masks. They're really nice that all of our students and staff have. So you hear a message that is automated right when you walk in the door that says, welcome to WSSB. Masks and social distancing are required. Every staff has to check in and check out every day and do a health screening. Every student has to check in and check out every day with a health screening. And Every student who's residential is checked every morning, plus before they arrive on the buses on Sunday nights. It's very strict. There are barriers everywhere you go. If you walk to the front office, there's a barrier between the person on one side of the desk and the person on the other side of the desk. We're still maintaining 6 feet, but we're also wearing masks and barriers, and there's constant cleaning going on. So lots and lots of things have changed here. It's certainly not ideal. I cannot wait to get more kids back here and to lessen some of the restrictions, but we can't do it unless we can keep everybody safe. And so it's a pretty controlled existence here at WSSB right now. But we're able to serve kids on campus, and so that's really wonderful. Our outreach programs continue to serve students in public schools around the state. We serve about a fifth of the schools, school districts around the state, so we have outreach service providers all over the state providing those services. Our Braille Center continues to operate as it did before, and our Prison Braille program is still flourishing. So everything's really a go here. Many staff are working remotely. I'm on campus today, but I work remotely about half the week. And most of our operations staff work remotely and probably will the whole year. We're looking forward to bringing back that next phase of students, but right now our numbers in this county and around the state continue to increase, not decrease. And so the health department's asked us to hit pause. So we are hitting pause, but we're hopeful that maybe by December, we're honestly going to be thinking about bringing back another group of students. And if things continue to go right, I'd like to believe that by the end of the year, we're going to have all kids back here. But that said, I'm really nervous about saying anything definitively because the moment I give a date or the moment I say this is what's going to happen, it all changes. And so we're just constantly meeting with health officials to stay on top of that. So that's kind of what's going on with school, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have afterwards. But I also want to tell you about a neat project that involves Lions. We have, as you probably know, we have an awesome connection with Lions from all over the state, but especially our local Lions, and Fort Vancouver Lions have been a great partner of ours. Many of our staff are members of Fort Vancouver Lions, and one of our staff, Lori Pulliam, who's she's getting close. She's on her 38th year here at WSSB as a teacher. She's been working here for a long time, and her husband, she's a Lion, and her husband was a dedicated Lion, Roy Pulliam, and Roy Pulliam recently passed away from ALS. But Roy Pulliam was very dedicated to our school and our programs and Lions, and always had a lot to do with our big track meet that we host for the whole state. And that big track meet starts at this one place on campus. It's in the center of campus, right by our track. It's called Ned's Shed. And so Roy developed ALS, and we were talking about a way to honor Roy and a way to honor Lori, because they've both been so committed to WSSB for so many years. And Lions had proposed maybe getting a bench or something on campus or a statue. And Lori, for as long as I've known her, which is a long time, she's always worn a peace symbol around her neck. And so we came up with this idea. It's actually an idea that comes out of Rotary, and it's called a peace pole. And so we decided to put a peace pole on Earth. And a peace pole is a pole that says, "May peace prevail on Earth" in English. And then you put other languages around it. So we chose languages that represent our campus and our school over the years, to represent our state, and the many languages that are spoken in Washington. We also wanted to make sure we honored Native Americans of this area, and so we wanted to have Native American dialects on there. So we worked with our staff, we worked with our leadership team, we worked with our equity team, and we worked with student council to determine what the 12 languages were going to be on this peace pole. And so I want to tell you what those are. Number one, it's in English, so it says, "May peace prevail on Earth" in English on this pole. And that's front and center. And that pole is right by Ned's Shed in the very center of campus. It's got a nice little garden around it now. It's got a Braille sign there, Braille in print, that commemorates this to the Pulliams, and we call it the Pulliam Peace Pole. But it says, "May peace prevail on Earth" in English, ASL. A long time ago, our history, we were a school for the deaf and blind, and so we wanted to make sure we had ASL, American Sign Language, on there. We also have a deaf employee, and have many deafblind students over the years. We have Spanish, Chinese, Russian, Chukese. We have many students right now from the islands of Chuuk. We have 3 Native American dialects on there. Chinook Wawa. Chinook Wawa is a pidgin language that is based on the Chinook language, but includes elements of other language, and it's the common language of this whole area of the country. Lushootseed, which is a dialect of several Sahelish tribes in the Puget Sound. And then Sahaptin, we have Sahelish or Salish Native Americans on campus right now. But Sahaptin is also, it says, an inhabited territory along the Columbia River. Its tributaries in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. Sahaptin-speaking peoples include Klickitat, Kittitas, Yakima, Wanapum, Palis, Lower Snake, Walla Walla, Umatilla, and Tenino. We also have Kurdish in honor of some students that we've had on campus, Arabic, and our only African language on there is Swahili. So the Pulliam Peace Pole is now erected in the middle of campus. It says all of those, it says, may peace prevail on earth in all of those languages. I made a mistake when I ordered this, actually, and I privileged Braille readers, which is kind of a funny juxtaposition here and something that I sort of appreciate. And I had assumed that when you see Spanish, you know it's Spanish. Well, but when you see Lushootseed, you might not know it's Lushootseed because so many of us have never seen that language in written form before. So they're labeled all in Braille, but they're not labeled in print. So if you do visit our campus when we open it back up to the public and you want to see this beautiful peace pole and the sign that commemorates it to the Pulliams, and you want to know what one of the languages is, you're going to have to actually find a Braille reader who can read the Braille sign to tell you which language is which, unless you're familiar with what Chinook Wawa looks like, or Arabic or Kurdish. So it's kind of a neat little thing. And so anyway, that's the Pulliam Peace Pole. Like I said, it sits in the very center of campus where we kick off the track meet every year. We had actually meant to dedicate that to Roy Pulliam last spring at the track meet. The track meet, as you know, was canceled because of COVID, and we would have waited till this year, but Roy's health declined so rapidly that in early March we were able to get him there on campus to show him the peace pole. And Roy's health had deteriorated to such a degree that he was unable to speak. But he did point to the words on the peace pole and did point to the sign where it reads his name, and really kept his finger. I have many pictures of Roy and his whole family standing around the peace pole and the sign, and Roy's got his finger on his name, and he's crying profusely, and I think it was just crying tears of honor and joy. He couldn't tell us at that moment, but he was so excited by all of the Fort Vancouver Lions that had come out, and to see his name on this sign that is forever on our campus. It was really, really wonderful and special. And Lori was just in my office telling me that how touching it is to walk across campus and see this this remarkable and beautiful piece of art that decorates our campus and it's got our name on it. So a lot's going on here. I'm happy to take questions. I probably didn't touch on everything you wanted to hear about, but anyway, I guess I'll leave it open to questions at this point.
Okay, hey Scott, if you're back full strength with your school, how many students do you usually have on campus?
There's about 70 on campus typically. Our dorms can hold 54, but we have about 20 to 30 kids whose families have moved to Vancouver so that they can go to school here, but they don't have to go take part in the resident program unless they need to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anybody else have questions? Marilyn?
Yes. Scott, you addressed special needs students as well as blind and deaf. I believe you said you had some autistic students program. And then there was something else that you spoke about in the future hopes. I forgot what it was developing a new campus area for housing.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. So to speak to your first point there, the truth is, and the statistics show that a large proportion of children who are blind have additional disabilities. It's an overwhelming percentage. It varies because people define visual impairment differently, but generally 60 to 75% of individual children who are blind or visually impaired have additional disabilities. And that's true on our campus too. So a good chunk of children who go to school here may be blind, but they also say have autism, or they may also be deaf, or they may also have some other, say, cognitive or intellectual disability. There's a whole range, but the truth is most children have additional disabilities, and that reigns true on our campus. The new facility that you spoke of is all for that program, actually, that Lori Pulliam runs. The Lori Pulliam has, since about 2000, run a program here called LIFT. And LIFT is an acronym that stands for Learning Independence for Today and Tomorrow. Those are individuals who have graduated from high school who are ready to go to college or career, and they come here and they live here during the year and then either go to college or they're doing a work experience. Since that program was created, they've been upstairs in the building that I'm in, which is our old main building. And that presents a number of challenges and security risks to both this building, but also for those individuals. So for many years, we've been chasing a new building for that program. And so since I've been superintendent, which has really just been since 2016, the governor and the legislature have funded what's called a feasibility study to examine the current space that we have, and they've determined that we need to raise the current building, in other words, destroy it and build a new building. They've then funded the pre-design process that led to where we are now. We're in the design phase, and we've hired an architectural firm, and they have a totally blind architect that's working with us. His name's Chris Downey. Chris Downey was featured on 60 Minutes. You might have seen him, and he's a blind architect out of San Francisco. He owns his own architecture firm called Architecture for the Blind. And so he's working with us and this other firm out of Portland to create the design for this building. They're just now in the phase where they're reaching out to graduates of the program. In fact, they have a meeting today. The former staff of the Department of Services of the Blind to inform this process. And we are seeking funding from the governor and the legislature this legislative session for that capital project. And right now we're estimating that to cost $8 to $10 million for that new building, which will have a variety of different apartments for those people participating in the program, instructional spaces like an instructional kitchen, and other spaces like that. And then the Department of Services for the Blind would have 2,000 square feet for their regional office as well. Right now they rent the space above me, and they would move their adult services to that building as well. And that's on the southwest corner of our campus. Right now it's where the Allstein building is. And that's the old, Allstein is where the original deaf-blind program was at WSSB. And then eventually they determined that wasn't a seismically safe building for children, but it was okay for adults. So we have renters in there from local law enforcement right now.
More questions?
Marilyn?
Okay. Typically, on a normal day, you could provide a tour if we Lions wanted to come. Yeah. And secondly, I know that I have attended meetings on your campus. You have been able to rent out a space. Mm-hmm. Some of us have been there for that. And then the other thing I wanted to comment on or just ask a question is, how do you receive funding for the school?
All great questions. I'm going to start with the first one of a tour. I think that's one of the best ways to see what we're all about. And we have just a beautiful campus here. We have 13 acres, 14 different buildings. The building I'm in right now is from 1915. It sits on the National Historic Registry. We have another building from 1917 that sits on the Historic Registry, and one from 1897. So beautiful historical campus. You can have a tour anytime during a typical year. I would spend up to an hour and a half walking you through every part of this campus and explaining how we do and what we do and why we do what we do. So that would typically just be arranged at any time. our funding, we are a government agency, and so the lion's share, I keep using that lion word, but the lion's share of our funding comes through the state. We are in the executive branch of government. We're situated within the office of the governor. And so I report directly to Governor Inslee, sit on his cabinet. And so he, every year, he will basically make the budget recommendation that then is debated by the legislature. We have the opportunity to ask for additional dollars and have been very successful, at least during my 5 years here. We have received additional dollars to provide services for families of children birth to 3 in their home. And so the legislature and the governor supported that. We've received additional dollars for to hire a licensed clinical social worker last year and a school counselor to beef up our social emotional learning here. We are seeking capital dollars. Oops, sorry. Capital dollars to support that building project.
I think we lost Scott, though.
No problem. And we've been very well supportive over the years. We do have a small amount of funding that it comes from Oregon students who pay tuition to go to school here. So since the Oregon has no school anymore, they closed that school in 2009, and ever since then, they've sent students to Washington. And so when they do that, they pay a tuition. That tuition goes to offset basically any shortage of funding I may have, or we did a solar project. Right now, it's going to fund lots of PPE for staff and students. So we've amassed a little bit of a slush fund that if the legislature ever, say, runs into a significant budget shortfall, like we might experience this next legislative session, we have some funds that we can commit to keep us whole, at least in a short-term type of situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Hal?
I haven't had a tour with the director, Dean, at that point in time. I just want to encourage people that when they can get back into that, it's really eye-opening.
It really is. I would strongly encourage anyone to come towards. It won't be time.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And second, are you still have some relationship with the piano tuning school?
Well, interesting that you bring that up. The piano tuning, I was served on their board at their last days, and so they actually closed that school, or I should say we closed that school as part of that. Yeah, so it closed. I think there's both good and bad that led to the closure of that school. But let me say this: the good is there are many more job possibilities out there for blind individuals than there were when that school started 75 years or so ago. That said, it's certainly not equal. It's not equitable, but there is progress happening. The funds that were associated with that fund have been put in trust with the Southwest Community Foundation, and I'm on the board that evaluates and uses those funds, and they still go to support people that are seeking employment. And so there's a number of things that they go to, and people can apply through the Southwest Community Foundation to access those funds. But the still original mission of EML carries forward with the use of those funds. So that school is gone. Their stuff is on display in our museum, and we're actually working with the National Grant to create a better museum, a more accessible museum. So hopefully that'll be more accessible in the future. Right now, it's still in the old school basement museum.
Okay. Any other questions? Ken, did you have a question?
Yeah, Scott, just a quick question, probably a yes or no answer. Do you have any kind of partnership with ESD 112?
Yes, a great partnership with them.
Thank you. I used to be president of the board there, so I thought I'd bring that up. Thank you.
Well, then you know Dennis Matthews. Dennis Matthews is on my board at the school. He's retired from ESD 112, but he's on my board here. But yes, I meet with them every single week, actually. They've been just amazing throughout, especially, I mean, they're always really wonderful, quite honestly, but during COVID, ESD 112 has been just sort of the rock for all school districts in this area. They've been great.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Lloyd? Unmute, yeah.
You talking about your track team? Do they train them pretty regularly, or?
Our track team? No, and we don't have an official track team. We run a track meet for the whole state, and so typically about the second week in May, we do a track event where kids from of all ages, all abilities come to Vancouver for a full day's track event here. Our students they use our track for PE, but they don't train like a typical, like a high school track team because we don't compete. We don't have another high school to compete against. The closest school for the blind is California.
Have you ever competed against other schools? I remember back when I was in high school, running against like deaf kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, the deaf school does that. They have a basketball team, a football team. I don't know if they have a track team. It's a little different with the blind. If you were to run against a totally blind individual, you'd see really quickly why that's different. We do compete against other schools in certain sports. One of them is called Goalball. It's a Paralympic sport that was specifically designed for the blind, and we compete at the national level at the national tournament every year. And in a typical year, that's in Florida at St. Augustine, and all schools for the blind from around the country send teams. Last year was actually in Texas. So we do that. We also have a swim team they'll do swim meets, and they'll compete occasionally. We were actually supposed to welcome the California school, the Colorado school, and the Idaho school to come here for a swim meet this year, but because of COVID, that got died. And then we have a powerlifting team, and our powerlifting team, they don't compete against other high school teams because there generally aren't other high school powerlifting teams, but they compete against other powerlifters on the world powerlifting level. And every other year, our powerlifting team attends the World Championships in Las Vegas. 2 years ago, I had 5 students set world records for their age group in powerlifting.
That's good, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but we sort of have to approach team sports, especially team sports, in a slightly different way at this School for the Blind.
Yeah.
Well, internationally, there are 2 or 3 other sports that Lions works with. One is fishing, and another one is golfing. Is that something that would be interesting to you?
Yeah, we've actually had there's this National Blind Golfers Association, and one of there's a lady locally who's been engaged with us. And we were talking a couple of years ago about trying to get regular and ongoing, like a golf team here. It never materialized, but I'm certainly interested in providing more opportunities for kids. And also with fishing, actually, that's something we do. We don't do it necessarily as like a sport or competition, but we get out and take our kids to different fishing opportunities that exist. And often it's to like a stocked pond, where they'll go like trout fishing or something, but they've really liked that. So we're game with anything. I mean, at the School for the Blind, as you probably know, we're going downhill skiing, cross country skiing, snowmobiling, hiking. We do fencing, do rock climbing. I mean, we really don't have too many limits here. And things like golfing, a lot of people don't think about blind people in golfing, but it's totally possible. And I think it's probably really enjoyable for those that do it. So we're down for anything.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Well, Scott, I'd like to thank you very much for presenting to our Lions Club today. It was very informational. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you guys have any interaction with the Kalama Lions?
A little bit.
If you do, my wife is her name's Jennifer McCallum, and she's on Kalama Lions because she's the middle school principal there in Kalama, and so I'd like you to harass her if you can.
All right. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'd love to stay, but I actually have to get ready. I got a cabinet meeting with the governor here in about 15, 20 minutes. So
Yeah, we understand.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Great.
Hey, I have a couple announcements. Let's see. Bob and Louie, you want to talk about Christmas lights? One of you?
We're going to get the stop on Wednesday at 9.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be nice weather on Wednesday. And Bob suggests that we take the carousel over to there and put it up, being it's going to be nice, and take the snowman down there and set it up. And anyway, and then Rex texted me and he said he would like to have the lights over there Saturday. So anyway, that's where we're at right now.
Okay. So tomorrow at the shop at 9 o'clock if you want to help on Christmas lights. Okay. Ken Patero, anything on the zone?
No, we'll pass for right now. We're running short of time.
Okay. Any sunshine report on anybody? Greg?
I talked to Cindy Sessions this morning. She goes into some extensive x-rays and they'll determine if her collarbone is healing or if she needs an operation.
Oh, okay. Al?
Thank you for the card. I have a surgery date of November 27th to completely remove my thyroid, because that's the best recommended process. It's interesting because it opened up a whole lot of questions about what happens on Thanksgiving. As it turns out, none of my kids and grandkids could come up on Thanksgiving Day, so we're doing Thanksgiving on the 22nd. So it's like, okay. I mean, I just love it. Most of you know my faith. God really puts things together at the right time, the right place for what's next. And thank you all for your prayers. And I'll be taking pills the rest of my life, but I've already been doing that.
Really, Al?
But my brother he's not doing as well as he could right now, so he needs prayers.
Okay. Al, just let you know, I have a niece that's had her thyroid out since she's been 12.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've had my thyroid out for quite a few years, like 14, I think.
She's 48 right now, so I mean, you just on a pill every day.
Yeah, my brother, remember my brother-in-law from the pharmacy industry, he's also a cancer expert. And we had a nice call with my wife and daughter, and he kind of went through everything. He says, you're going the right way. So,
yep.
Dolly had a hand.
Hey, Dolly.
A lot of you may not know that I'm having problem with my right side of my neck. I have severe arthritis.
But that left fist still works.
I have severe arthritis and a lot of bone spurs up there, and I'm waiting to have some injections. I just have to play an insurance game. Well, other than that, I do have a happy $5.
Okay.
We officially sold our home. Official.
Hey.
No more yard work for now.
It means it closed, right? It closed.
Yes.
It's closed. Yes.
All right. Doug, do you have anything on the...
Yeah, we have to report also that we're going to be gone next week.
Oh yeah, right.
We have to travel to Arizona to visit our grandkids and great grandkids, and
We're gonna have an early Thanksgiving with them.
We'll come back here in time for Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
How about your cabinet meeting on Friday or Saturday?
I'll be there for that unless you want to sub for me.
Oh, okay.
Marilyn?
I think Dolly's celebrating a birthday Saturday.
Ah.
Is she?
Yeah,
39
Saturday. Saturday.
Birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's 45 again.
Oh.
Well, I haven't done the paperwork yet, so that's right.
You sure the pain in the neck isn't sitting beside you?
Yeah. What do you think?
Any happy or sad bucks from anybody else?
Darlene,
Yes.
is there a board meeting tomorrow?
No.
No, okay.
I don't think.
Thursday?
No.
No, okay. Too early.
Unless somebody has something, I don't think I might have one this month.
That works for me.
Golly,
Yeah,
checks in the mail.
thank you.
I don't think so. I'm going to be out of town really when we're supposed to have it. So if things work out, so
Yeah, that works for me.
okay. Yeah, because I don't know of anything unless somebody texts me something that we need to go over.
Obviously, the process to get us back together at the Eagles.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll work
Yes.
on. So Ken.
Yeah, just all the members, don't forget your discounted dues are due by next month.
That's right.
15th, yeah.
Cindy, I know Cindy, Cindy, I know you're keeping up with the roar on that, so that would be another great thing that Cindy's doing, is she is
Have you
posting it.
sent any cards out yet?
Cards?
Or,
Yeah, people that paid, have you sent any?
Oh, well, I'm hoping to wait till we can meet, because that's a lot of postage
yeah.
Yeah.
and more envelopes and all that. So I'm hoping to avoid that if I can, unless somebody really wants it.
Apparently, Lloyd does.
Greg?
Right, Hal?
Greg?
Hey,
Great.
real quick, getting back to the
I've got a few
Eagles.
announcements.
Hold on.
Number one, got Sight and Hearing Foundation meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. Those of you that want to attend, it's that 960 number.
It's in the roar too, the connection
Oh,
to it.
good. And then walk and knock. We're not going to have a walk and knock as such. It's going to be a stop and drop. We're going to have trailers out at Walmart at 38th and Ocean Beach, the Council Hall at Macy's,
Make everybody know that.
the Cap Building, and a truck out in Lexington.
Or
And as far as our club's concerned, we're only going to need about 12 people. But we're going to run it from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock. So if people want to come out and split shifts, that's perfectly fine.
what date was that?
Yeah, what's the date?
December 5th. It's always the first Saturday in December.
All right.
What's it for?
Walk and knock.
Food drive.
Yeah.
Oh, food drive. Okay.
Okay.
Pay attention, Layla.
Hey, watch it, Lloyd.
Read the newsletter.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else have I got?
Cindy! Go back to sleep, Cindy.
Oh, I know what else I was going to say. Lloyd, you asked about a track meet for the blind, and you said you did it in high school. I didn't know they had high school when you were younger.
So he's gotta have.
Okay, Greg.
It's surprised he can remember.
I would like to congratulate a couple of Lions that are on this site today. Cindy Frickett received 2 Excellence Awards for
Right.
Zone Chair, and she also received runner-up for Zone Chair of the Year for MD19, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Cindy.
Yeah.
Good job, Marilyn.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dolly got missed, but totally deserves the Treasure
Yes.
Excellence Award. The MD19 voted a year ago to initiate a Treasurer's Excellence Award, and somehow that application just didn't get put up. So you would have had it, Dolly, for darn sure. So let's make sure that you get your Treasurer's Excellence Award for next year, because I know you deserve it.
Thank
Did I
you.
miss anything? Anyone else? Field received his Secretary Excellence.
Yes.
Is there anything else that I missed?
What are you doing?
Who did?
What?
Bill.
Again?
Yes,
Bill.
Phil did.
I thought you wanted to make another announcement.
Phil Olson,
Well,
Secretary.
then raise your hand.
What?
Okay, Doug.
Edgewise, just to let everybody know that I had a meeting at the Eagles last night, and it turns out that in December, they can have up to 60 people. I know, we talked about it earlier.
Great.
And I just want to remind everybody that if you did not hear that, it looks like if we get things set up, we can actually start having a live meeting next month. I think it's kind of exciting.
So Hal, you and Dwayne and myself will meet at 3:30 on Friday at the Eagles. If anybody else wants to be there,
Isla's going to be on the Zoom.
do part of it.
Question, do I still or how will I know when you're ready? Do you want to call me and then I can log in?
What I'll do is I'll send the virtual meeting. It's going to be the same link that you're using right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, probably call you when we're ready for that part.
Right. Do you have my phone number?
I will shortly. You want to put it in the chat?
I can just say it out loud. I'm not afraid if anybody here calls me.
Hey. Okay, I'm putting it on the
Except for Lloyd.
They go out to other public. You might want to email him.
Yeah.
This isn't a private meeting.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I got it, Isla.
It's supposed to be private because all Dwayne shares usually is the program.
Wayne puts it on, what do you put it on, Wayne? Dwayne?
I don't have his email or anything. I don't even have his phone number. And I can't get on to the letter.
I'll
It's
put
never
it
let
to you.
me.
It's in there.
I'll put it to you.
All right.
Marilyn?
Did anyone welcome Early Bird Lion Ron Johnson today?
Whoa, Ron!
Pioneer past president.
All day. Welcome, Ron.
I thought I recognized that face.
Mary Simonson was on earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we had another one.
Yeah, she's got a new profession. She's a renewed real estate broker.
Oh.
All right. Anybody else have any information?
Keep it on there.
Need to.
How many people do we have today, Hal?
How many people?
Yeah.
About 27 plus, I want to say 3.
I have 28.
You have what?
28.
Okay.
I have 24 visual, and then there's couples. So.
Yeah, the highest my screen went up was to, I thought 27,
Yeah.
but that would include Dwayne twice.
Twice, yeah.
All right. Any other information that we need to go over? Because it's getting close to 1 o'clock. So I will adjourn this meeting and we will meet again next Tuesday.